Last episode was really crazy. We got to see what happened to Zanka. Gachiakuta episode 17. This episode starts off with a small fight recap of Zanka versus Jabber. Suddenly things switch. We see some decorations dangling, and then there's like this graffiti piece, and we hear a man's voice that we don't know. As he's talking, we get a zoom in one at a time on this graffiti. Finally, we get to see him talking about generation to generation the proud bloodline of the Juku clan has preserved. Okay, I can't lie, I'm getting some cold chills here. So the man is going on. He continues to talk about the Hell's Guard, something about whoever this person's bowed down in front of them, their brother and sister were part of it, and we get to see a little closer that this is actually Zonka. Okay, I really love the lore of this series. So we hear Zonka agree. Then we get to go back outside. We see like the little wind chimes, and then suddenly we get to see this giant wall and all of these buildings inside of here, which are very reminiscent of older Japanese times, and I absolutely love it. Of course, there is one overtowering everything else, showing some sort of hierarchy or some higher. So here's something that we can confirm. I was actually unsure. This place is located on the ground, but we start to hear someone drilling people. It's like going over this whole entire trashverse, and we get to look inside. It's a bunch of the Hell's Guards, and I do want to note one thing that is said. The greatest threat of all is your fellow man, is something being taught. So this appears to be similar to an academy, and of course one of the participants is Zonka. So straight away, just from seeing this, there's two boys as Zonka's passing by. At first they're talking about all these new recruits that have came in, and they talk about how this batch has someone really impressive. It's a girl. Zonka's passing by and hears this. But as Zonka passes these two boys, they begin to talk about him. One of them says that he carries himself a cut above, and the other one says his dad is one of the town's big shots. He's referred to having noble blood going on. The Nejuku clan's a house of elites who all got into the Hell's Guard. As the boys continue to talk on, we get to find out Zonka is the head honcho. He's got the good grades, the girls like him, and he's really looking like he's the top of the class to take the golden throne. So this is where things take a turn. We get to hear Zonka pick up where the boys left off. They're going about how they can't hold up to Zonka, and he's really smug and overall just a cocky person. So we sort of kick a cut here. The teacher comes in, everyone rises, sits back down. And this teacher's talking about how there's a rise on giver crime. So I can kind of guess from here that the Hell Guard is maybe similar to the police of givers. So this felt like a dead giveaway. The teacher's going on about how hard this class has worked and how they can always use new talents. Simultaneously, a new student walks in, and of course, it's a female with what is to be seen white or maybe gray hair, and we know this is the same one that Zonka was thinking about earlier in the Jabber fight. And we get to see Zonka finally wake up. He's found the real deal. He's going to learn what his weaknesses are and his real strengths really were, which really shows you something. Additionally, this girl was apparently from the slums, but she's here due to her definite ability. As it was starting to cook, we get took to the opening. After coming back from the opening, we get to see, in fact, this golden throne is a real thing, and apparently this is used for the best student of that year. We go from hearing Zonka's voice talking about the golden throne to the title card. Suddenly, everyone in the Hell's Guards is outside, and we get to see why everyone is kind of shocked. It is, in fact, this girl has beaten Zonka, and he himself can't believe it either. After we see Zonka that has gotten beaten, the teacher starts to clap his hands and congratulate her. Apparently, she's beaten everyone in class during the sparring session. Additionally, we do get a name. Her name is Hyo. After Hyo has got some high praise from the teacher, things turn. Everyone's used to talking about Zonka. Now it's all about her. As we hear the students talk, they talk about how she's sloppy, as well as she's got no rhythm. And all of a sudden, Zonka comes into the picture. Instead of being frustrated, he actually just kind of laughs it off and says, heck, she's a tough one. Finally, after we see him walk away and on his own, he was putting on this fake front. In reality, he really is frustrated and upset. I mean, just look at that vein that is popping out on his face. Also, he's biting so hard on his lip that it's actually bleeding. The next thing we get to see is the fight that actually took place. Hyo is using some sort of knife, and Zonka, he's using his staff, really taking this defensive stance. Hyo, fast paced, coming at him repeatedly. Eventually gets to a point where this wooden staff that Zonka has gets broke in half. In fact, that is the same moment that Zonka's eyes open up wide, and he knew he was defeated. We get to see her actually climb on top of him and take this little knife blade and point it to his neck, where he submitted to defeat. We come back to Zonka standing beside the fountain, and he's still upset, beating his head against the wall and bleeding even more. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, we hear Hyo say, "You're bleeding," to Zonka, catching his attention. And so we see Zonka kind of switch up, doing a little bit of smooth talking, and he brings up something about this golden throne. Hyo really doesn't understand what this is all about. We also get to know that Zonka's sister has never been on this throne. And it's sort of interesting. Hyo doesn't see the whole gimmick of wanting to be on this throne. You just want people to think you're impressive, and we see her walk away from Zonka. After hearing that, Sanka just kind of sits there with a blank stare. Suddenly, we're now in this classroom setting, and all the other students seem to be trying to copy Hio in some type of way. Now, what we see to follow up is actually really exciting. The teacher has gathered a bunch of weapons, and the students are instructed to pick one that speaks to you. It's really interesting, but you have all these really nice bladed weapons, and you suddenly see the stick. But to note something the teacher says, the Hell's Guard are actually able to use multiple types of weapons, but try to find one that fits your strengths. It's actually a little embarrassing, but I just now noticed this gun. We get to see Sanka looking at this table, and something really catches his eye specifically. It is the staff, and we get to know the story of why he picked it. Was the one who thought he was any better than the fakes. Me. The follow-up transition is pretty wild. There is two people wearing straw hats, and I recognize it straight away. This is absolutely Engine. He's going on about you had classes on weapon selection, and that's the weapon you chose? Now there's a thought, who is he speaking to? And it's just straight away, has to be Zanka. For some reason, he asks, what is he doing in this well as well? Zonka doesn't respond at all. Then Engine picks up. Didn't you say that class was 3 days ago? Meaning he was actually down there 3 days without food or water. Finally, quietly, we hear Zonka speak up. I saw a hole, so I felt obligated to crawl into it, he says. As Engine enjoys a nice snack up top, Zonka begins to reveal why he's down here and what is making him so upset. It has to do with the choice of weapon. Pretty obvious, I know. And the reason he picked the stick was because he thought maybe the weakest one might be the strongest and it's the opposite of everyone else. But rather than that, including Hio, they picked what they thought was the strongest. And apparently, this stick was actually something that randomly got mixed up in the weapons. As Sokka is still revealing, we get to know that Hiyo actually picked out an ordinary, unremarkable sword. As Sokka begins to think about it, he goes in Joker mode, and instead of being depressed and sad, now he's laughing. It's so hard not to love the character Engine. He is trying to steer Zonka in this direction. It's not too direct. He makes these comments. Zonka thinks to himself. Zonka is saying he's mediocre throughout this. He's not a natural talent. But what we hear from Engine is even though you have this stupid stick, you continue to grip onto it and hold on to it. And as Engine is leaving, you tell Zonka something that sticks with him. But you can't become strong until you know your weakness. What makes this perfect is even though this seems like a closer, Engine turns around, speaking to Zonka, tells him that he's going to come around again to get some of the food. But he also throws in, I hope to see you one day prove to me that the average can eclipse the gifted. We also get to see the other person with Engine, which is surprisingly Rio. This series does it to us again. So we see the two leave off, and we are just waiting for Zonka to do something. We see this bird, it calls out. Zonka puts his hand up like he's about to come out. At the same time, we snap back to Zonka, who is very much alive against Jabber. This catches Jabber's attention. He turns around, smiling. Then Zonka calls out to his staff. Just like Thor, it comes right to his hand. Straight away, we know that Zonka is in pretty bad condition. He's bleeding out into the floor, but he has this resolve that is really overpowering him at this moment. He wants to prove what a mediocre can do. But wait, things aren't what they seem. There is a quick cut to black, and we hear Jabber whispering to his good buddy Zonka, and in reality, Zonka is tripping out because he got drugged by Jabber. And so we get to see Jabber Fortnite dancing over the corpse of a tweaking out Zonka. Okay, I'm just gonna real quick restate the obvious. Jabber is insane. After emoting all over Zonka, he comes over and has a conversation with this just corpse just sitting on the ground. He explains how this toxin was from someone that tried to kill him, and apparently it makes you have these like trippy dreams that are so vividly real, and afterwards you puke your guts out. And also, he did get some damage done to him by Zonka. His ribs are hurting even when he laughs. But in a one way, he is sad that the battle's already over. Wait, I think I kind of see what they're trying to do here is make this similarity. As Jabber's second guessing on why he picked to fight Zonka, this is when he looks back around and he hears laughing coming from him. You literally can't make this up. Jabber wants in on this, so he gets right beside Zonka and begins laughing with him as he stares. It is just the most insane thing ever. So as we hear those two joke her out, we cut to Gita, who has actually went through a pipe and has gotten out. It appears now she is in a cave with a bunch of sharp rocks, and it all looks like she's alone. We get to hear Gita being very scared that she's all alone. However, she has a friend she's brought along, good old Rochi. But all of a sudden, we get to see this cockroach just go up and fly, Gita chasing it down. She chases this cockroach deeper and deeper into this cave, and suddenly she gets in front of this like giant egg looking thing. It's glowing, and she just stares at it speechless. Things get even more unusual here. So, inside of whatever this is, there is hands holding weapons that are jabbed into this egg or heart thing. So now we come to the finale, and I do want to mention something. So those hands are missing the body. These weapons are still into whatever this thing is, and we hear Jabber speaking to Zonka, basically saying his farewell. It was good while it lasted, and he is now dragging Zonka by the leg or the foot, and he's taking him into this cave. We now know he's going to be feeding him to a trash beast, which may or may not be the same thing that Gita's at. We'll have to see. So in this episode, we get thrown another curveball. We get a backstory, but this time it's almost like the character is living through it. In reality, this is a trip being induced by Jabber to Zonka, which was pretty cool, and I do think that is something a little different. I do like that. But what I find so insane is we get to see how crazy Jabber actually is. He goes from like emoting all over Zonka to trying to talk to him, and he can't reply. He's just there. His body's tripped out. It can't think. He can't say anything, and he still continues to talk. Suddenly, we hear Zonka laugh, and it's starting to look and make them seem very similar. And of course, the two begin to laugh together because Jabber can't help himself. Now, I do want to say I love Engine for coming in, and it's just really cool. And I feel like along the ways, we're going to get to see different backstories where every one of these characters had some sort of struggle or hardship, and it's sort of the reason they got to the cleaners. I love this series. I can't give it enough. And at the very end, where Gita sees this big giant red thing, is this like a heart? Is it an egg of a trash beast? I wonder, in these like hands that are still stuck to the weapons, no body, but the hands are left over. There is tons of mystery. It keeps having you guess, and I want to see Gita eventually get in a fight. Not because I want to see Gita get hurt, but I just want to see it happen. I can guess, but I kind of have that feeling what Gita can do just on that suit. Bro, this series is amazing, and if I had to rate this episode, I'm going to say it is absolutely a 9-2. Tell me what your guys' thoughts are on Gachiakuta episode 17. Hope you stay safe, and until next time, peace out, guys.